right. Well, hello, and thank you for joining us today for our weekly podcast. Today's episode, we're going to talk about the types of content you can create to help with local SEO, as well as some content creation ideas. My name is Paul. I'm here with Ian. And so let's get started. Ian, you want to start?
Sure. So, Paul, what are the best types of content to create for local search rankings, and if you can explain why?
Yeah, well, local search rankings, unless you're a nationwide or global business, the most important thing to your business is local search rankings. If you and this is especially true for service area type businesses that serve their local community, roofers, plumbers, landscapers. There's a certain area that you serve and you want to be found in those areas. So the different types of content you can create for that, what we call localized blog posts, articles or blog posts that address local news, events, issues, topics of interest. It doesn't always have to be about your business. A lot of times they say, well, why would I do that? It's because they're relevant to the local audience, and it shows the search engines that you are active in this area, that you're active in the community, you serve this area. And you use local specific keywords like plumber in city, and then something very similar to that is local landing pages. So if you serve multiple cities, which is oftentimes the case, because maybe in a smaller area, or you just happen to be located near 2-3 different locations, then you want to have pages and content to all of those areas. And again, you want to use what we call geo-modified keywords, landscaper, near, city. And sometimes it could even be neighborhoods, because some areas that, certain neighborhoods are very, very important. And, you want to look on Google and see how Google sees these things, because I know in New Jersey is very unique in a lot of ways. I won't go into it, but the way they do things there. So local events, sponsor different local events that you can create content around that. It creates again, it just shows that you're in that area, and it's also a good way to get links back to your website from businesses, organizations. Let's say you're involved with Habitat for Humanity. You can get a link back to your website from Habitat for Humanity. That is really important. We work with some companies that do home shows, and by doing those home shows, they get a link back to their website from the convention center, whatever it is that is hosting that home show. And that has a lot of domain authority, which we talked about in the past. And that can, again, that can really help boost your rankings. Local resource guides, for instance, you can create content that talks about local resources or attractions. Kind of goes back to the first point I was making, but like top attractions in cities. And by doing that, it increases traffic to your website, and it helps you stay in customers' minds, potential customers' minds, when they need your product or service. And again, a lot of business, they're like, well, why would I do that? This has nothing to do with the service I offer. Well, maybe not, but it gets traffic to your website. and that's important because people have to know you exist before they can contact you for whatever service you're providing. And that helps. These things help do that. Reviews and testimonials. We talk about this all the time. You need a process, and preferably an automated process, to request reviews. And this is something we talk about all the time, is that there's a lot of things, these redundant tasks that you're either not doing or you're paying someone in the office to do these things that could be automated, and they could spend that time doing something more important. So you need, and putting reviews on your website, pulling those reviews onto your website. Again, content, social proof, things like that. You can do videos. People want to know who they're dealing with, and having a video from the owner talking about the business and how they got started and what their mission statement is and what they do, things they do in the community, going back to sponsoring different things. Again, it's content that's going to bring traffic to your website and let people know what you do and help create a connection with people. Local directory listings, they're really important because local directories, people use local directories more than you realize. And again, it's a link back to your website. I think it was more important in the past than it is now, but it's still important. People do still use them. So, and again, it's a way to get links back to your website, and Google likes links. They use backlinks as a way to judge the trustworthiness and expertise of your website. So even from that point, or from that standpoint, they're important. Q&As, you should have, if Reddit might be a good forum for you, depending on what you do, but Q&A forums, having facts on your website, both frequently asked questions and should ask questions, really important, because it helps establish you as an authority in your industry. Case studies or before and after content of projects. This is something that we do. We have a client, they build custom homes, and something we're working on right now is not just before and after, but like time lapse, because they build custom homes, and some of these things are pretty neat. So we want to, like I said, not just before and afters, but time lapse from the time they start, time lapse video from the time they start to the finished project. And we're working on like drones. We have someone that can actually, because some of these houses are pretty big, and they can actually fly a drone and take video footage of the inside of the house, not just the outside, but the inside of the house. So we're working on that, and we're going to put that on their website. And that's something most people don't think about, they don't do, and it's definitely going to make your business stick in people's minds. And I guess the other thing is social media engagement. It's a pain, but it's important. But yet you need to be engaged on social media, because there's a lot of vanity metrics we talked about in the past about, likes don't really mean anything. It's engagement. It's people engaging with your content on social media, and you responding. And same thing with reviews. You need to respond to reviews. People leave reviews, you need to respond. Even if it's just a simple, hey, thank you for the great review, whatever. But you need to respond to reviews, and you need to be engaged on social media. So, I mean, there's a lot of things. And all of these things, you may not have to do all of these things. It depends on the competitiveness of your marketplace. And when it comes to social media, we've also talked about this in the past, that you need to find the social media platforms that are most relevant for your business. If you're a business that what you do is visual, like let's say you're an interior designer or even a painter or remodeler, Pinterest would probably be a good platform for you. And I think it's overlooked because I think it's pretty specific as to what it's relevant for. You know, if you're a plumber, might not be the best, the best social media platform for you. But if you're an interior designer, if what you do and your finished product design, Pinterest could be a really good platform for you. So yeah, just there's all kinds of different platforms and content types that you should be using.
That's awesome. Those are great examples, Paul. Just a couple notes I had while you were chatting. I thought your comment about the neighborhoods, so not just location pages, but neighborhood specific pages, was really interesting. And I think it's important to understand why that's so valuable is that Google has data of how people search. And if people are searching for a dentist in Lock Haven, or a plumber in Crest Haven, or whatever the place is called, right? All those havens. If you're just doing your general, even city name, you might not be attracting some of those key prospects.
Yeah, what we found, something that's interesting, is if the business goes to the customer, like a roofer, plumber,
Yeah.
Landscaper, then the location is less specific, because I don't care how far a roofer has to drive to come to my house. I mean, that sounds crass, but it's not my problem. But if I'm driving to the business, like in the case of a dentist or a chiropractor, I'm not going to drive 20 miles to go to a dentist unless I have a very compelling reason to do that. And I mentioned New Jersey, that the term it escapes me right now, but they have a very different way of doing these things. It's kind of like a neighborhood, and Google even recognized, and I can't think of the term off the top of my head, but there's neighborhoods can be really important in certain instances.
That's cool. And I love your point about just how you're working with that building company, a home building company, with time lapse and drone videography. As we've talked about on other episodes of this, video's becoming more and more valuable from an SEO standpoint. And the reason is because it's engagement. People love watching videos, and I know from experience, time lapse, drone videos, those are really popular right now because people are trying to experience something, right? And so the cool thing about the drone videography, whether it's super high up in the air and then down throughout, it gives you footage that you couldn't otherwise have, and it gives you an experience of viewing a property or the workmanship of something. And then the time lapse is just like, people love watching that because essentially you're kind of wearing on the experience of what it would be like to have your home built by these people, because you're watching it from the ground up.
Yeah, it's a differentiator, and you're asking people to spend tens of thousands, and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And so it's a differentiator. Say, here's where we start, and here's what you end up with, and here's what the inside of your house could potentially look like. It's a differentiator, and it helps build trust.
Yeah.
So, Ian, how do you get user generated content? What is user generated? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, but some people may not know. And how does it help local SEO?
Yeah. So user generated content is it is pretty obvious. It's whatever content users or visitors, excuse me, customers, patients, other people create on behalf of the business or about the business. And so some very common examples of user generated content are even uploading photos. Like if they've had an experience, they leave a review. They might even just upload photos to your Google Business Profile. Videos that might be on social media. It might be sharing with you about a video of if they had their home built and then they do a video of their experience through that process and how they felt. That can be user generated content. I mean, by far, reviews are the most accessible type of user generated content. And it's really, really powerful, because the only thing better than you as a business talking about how great you are, because you should be talking about how great you are at what your core competencies are, because you can't trust that other people will. And so, but then if you encourage users to create content, you might even give them a platform in order to help them do that, to make it easy for them. You might ask them for it. But if you can get people to leave you or to create user generated content and post it to a myriad of options to post it to, this can be super, super helpful, because you get first person experience about working with you. And that's really powerful, because if you have prospective customers, patients, clients, whatever it is, people are trying to make an informed decision and an emotional decision about choosing you as a business. And so anything that someone else can say about their experience in working with you can be really, really powerful. Other things, you can do social media contests and campaigns. You can encourage users to share photos. Dentists do kind of smile-a-thons where they do contests for people to share their photos. One of the other ones I thought was really ingenious was, I don't know if you've heard of Flat Stanley, but it's where you basically have a printout of, it could be Flat Stanley, it could be the dent, like a cartoon picture of the dentist. But basically kids cut it out, they color it, excuse me, and then they take it with them wherever they go and take selfies, or have their parents take photos, and then they will post it and tag the orthodontist or dental office. Could be anything where you have kind of a practitioner where it's appropriate. And so, one of the orthodontists we serve, they did this, and they had kids posting, even though they only served in a particular state in the US, they had patients that were traveling all over the world during the summer. And so they got postings from kids in Australia, in Mexico, like you name it, Canada. They were posting pictures that were really fun and unique. And then they basically judged those photos. They had kind of a fun time doing that. And then they gave away prizes. So they gave away weekly, monthly prizes for entering. And then they gave a grand prize away for doing that. So those kind of contests, that's just an example of a contest. There's lots of social contests you can do. You just have to understand the terms and conditions of the platform that you're running them on, because you don't want to get banned. They're really fun and can be very powerful. We mentioned customer reviews, testimonials. Those are really powerful. The one thing I would add to that too is if you can, this is always a hard thing to get, but it's really, really powerful. And that's reviews or testimonial videos. So again, you might need a platform that makes this super, super easy for your clients, patients, or customers to leave reviews that are video. And you'll only get a small percentage of them to do that. Again, you can make it contest-based or some sort of incentive, promotion. But those are really powerful for your business, as are, Google reviews. Community forums or questions and answers. Alignable is a social platform that was really picking up steam for a few years. I think it's kind of plateaued a little bit, but it was basically a local business question and answer forum. You see Nextdoor, where there's lots of community questions and answers and where a business can advertise. But you're looking for, how to prompt your customers, clients, and patients in order to leave user-generated content. If you have a product, you could, even if you're, even if you're a dentist and you sell teeth whitening kits or, electric toothbrushes, or give away electric toothbrushes, you can have patients do unboxing. And of course, if you're an IT person or an IT service, you could do unboxing or unveiling of a standing desk or, some new technology, and have your clients do that. Feedbacks and surveys, powerful, first of all, powerful because they help you understand what's going on with your customer base. But you can also share results with people. So you can say, if you share your information, we will share the aggregate information with everybody, so that you can better understand what's happening in this particular industry. And how it helps from an SEO standpoint, all of this user generated content is, first of all, it's fresh content. Google loves fresh content. And so anytime you can feed the beast, the search engine beast, with fresh content, it's super valuable. Google values reviews. And the reason Google values reviews is because people value reviews. And so, it's important to understand that. Different people will describe your business differently. One of the things that we do and you guys do at Chainscape is we do something called, you guys might call it something different, but it's the total online presence audit and a strategy first blueprint. And in that process, we interview customers of our customers. So we're hired to do this audit and this strategy, and we interview their client or customer base, a portion of them, because we want to understand, how do these, your very best customers, how do they express the value they get from you as a business? So again, this diversity of thought, this diversity of keywords is really, really powerful. Trust and authenticity, I think that's really clear. Again, having other people talk about how much they love your business, really powerful. User-generated content has this knack for increasing engagement, especially if it's a rich content like video. And then backlinks, you can get backlinks from where this content is posted, from bloggers, from the press, from other websites. And it can be locally relevant as well. So there's so much there from a user-generated content standpoint that will help your business from an SEO standpoint. And of course, a lot of the things related to Google are posted on Google My Business. So, people who come to your store, your clinic, whatever it may be, or even if you're a service-based business and you come to their home or to their office, they can take a photo of your truck, they can take a photo of you, and as long as they have you've signed off on that, it's okay to do that. They can post it to your Google Business profile. And that's really powerful because photos, videos, reviews all have a bearing on your local search engine rankings for sure.
All right, good ideas. And user-generated content, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with user-generated content, depending on where it is, because like if it's on your website, you have to monitor it. Like comments on your website, that's user-generated content, but you really need to monitor that. And now it's time, and time is finite.
Yeah. And the thing to remember too, this used to be, it's not anymore a big hurdle for businesses asking for online reviews, or even turning on the ability to do online reviews, because that was a big hurdle for some businesses a few years ago, in that they were terrified of opening the floodgates for bad reviews. And of course, if you're a good business and you perform the service or deliver the product that you say you will, you will get the occasional negative review if you haven't knocked it out of the park. And maybe sometimes you even have unreasonable customers. But how you handle that says a lot to the people looking at the reviews. And the lion's share of the reviews, the overwhelming ranking of your reviews, will be high enough if you continue to ask for them and build those out. So I don't think you need to be scared of user generated content, but you do, just like you said, Paul, you have to understand that you are relinquishing some control there of your brand. But in truth, no business has that control anymore. People can say what they want on social media. You cannot control them. You can't control the dialogue as much as you'd like to think.
Yeah, that's true.
So Paul, we've been saying for years that every business needs to be a content creator, because content is the fuel that runs or gives the power to our marketing efforts. So talk about some of the ways businesses are always creating content, and they might not even know about it sometimes.
Yeah, product demos, and even training videos for your internal staff. A lot of times that can actually be turned into content. Might have to be modified a little bit. But you had talked about unboxing. If you go to YouTube, there's a lot of people that they do product reviews and unboxing. And if someone does that for one of your products and it's favorable, you can embed that on your website. A lot of people don't realize that, but you can do that. It's out there on YouTube. It's not on a private video hosting platform. So you can actually embed that unboxing video that someone else did on your website. And that's basically user generated content. And you can do your own unboxing and your own product demos, and put that on your website. We talked about facts, frequently asked questions, and should ask questions. But you can do this may or may not be appropriate for some business, but you can do Q&A sessions. Interview your customers, and you get their permission, obviously, but put that on your website. If it's a video interview, you have to get their permission. If it's like a verbal interview and it's just written content you're going to put on your website, you probably don't need their permission so much, just unless you're going to use their name. But tutorials, how-tos, how to use your product, how maybe there's ways people can use your product that isn't obvious. If it's a service, how your service can benefit. Maybe if someone has an older house, why you might want to have your house rewired. There may be safety issues that they're not aware of. So these Q&As, how-tos, interviews, and I talked about events earlier, sponsoring an event, the everyday projects, the drones, the before and afters, the time lapse videos. This is all content, and businesses are creating content pretty much every day, and they, like you said, they really don't realize it. So all these different things are content that it might have to be modified or finessed a little bit. Like I said, if it's a training video for employees, it might have to be modified a little bit, but you're basically, let's say it's a training video for a salesperson about the benefits of your product or service, or how to use your product. That's content that your customers are going to be interested in. Or it might be the thing that convinces them that it's your product or your service that they need, as opposed to a competitor.
Yeah, just thinking through that as you were talking and listening to some of those ideas, the one that really jumps out to me, as from my business standpoint, and this is probably true of anybody with a service-based business, but it could be true, excuse me, regardless of your business, is presentations and webinars are such a rich form of content. Why I mention this one is I'm a part of a weekly referral marketing network or networking event. And as such, we do weekly sales manager minutes. We do, pretty much bi-monthly presentations to the group. And out of each of those, I always come away from those with ideas about, wow, like this was relevant to them. I created this, infomercial or sales manager minute or whatever you want to call it, because it's relevant content for my listeners. And so you can then, come back to your office, take what you said to those people, create a minute long video, or even expand on it to a few minutes, and post that on your website, post it on YouTube, post it on social, because you're telling people something about your business or about your service, or it might be related to the landscape that, the business landscape right now. And those are really powerful. And then I mentioned webinars. Webinars are such a fantastic form of content for sharing, just because, if you're already committed to doing webinars, you're probably creating something that's a half hour to 45 minutes to an hour long, maybe even longer. Could be a keynote speech at an event that, like you were talking about, Paul. But then taking that back, and if you don't have a recording of it from the event, re-record it, present it online, and then post it. But you can even split it up into multiple pieces. But really, really powerful stuff for sure.
And here's a thought: get yourself booked on a couple podcasts. There are a lot of local podcasts out there. It doesn't have to be a nationwide podcast. There are a lot of podcasts out there that cater to a local area. Go find those, get yourself booked on it. And again, it goes back to its content, but it also helps establish you as an expert and authority in your industry.
Yeah.
So, Ian, what are some easy content creation ideas?
Yeah, I think the first is,
we kind of talked about it a little bit, but
yeah, I think we've talked a bit about it, but this is kind of rubber meets the road stuff, I think. And a great place to start, even before we get into some of the content ideas, is first of all to understand, like, many businesses, especially businesses with multiple stakeholders in the business. Maybe you have a couple salespeople, maybe you have more than a couple, customer service, all that kind of stuff, is to do something called a complete content audit. And the reason why this is really valuable is you go through your content in every single format you have of it. You basically create a spreadsheet of what it is, where it's found, and what its purpose is. And then you can look at the reason you do this is, first of all, updating existing content way faster, easier, and probably more powerful, because it already served a purpose for your business. If you can repurpose old content and just refresh it, maybe change the look of it, update the branding, add some more recent relevant content into it, that can be a super powerful way to do it. But you have to go through. It's not a fun process, but creating a content audit is really, really powerful. And it is probably the right place. If you're a business that's been around for 5+ years, you should probably do this, because you'll be surprised by how much content you've actually produced, and you'll have a fast track to producing more content, or updating that content, or repurposing that content. Meaning, you could take it, if you have a sell sheet, you could take that content, put it into a presentation, and have a video. If you could do shorts related to that, meaning, or reels, where you just do quick clips from that information, but you could repurpose it. Scanning your emails and the conversations you've had with, whether it's emails or actually live sales presentations or conversations with prospects and customers, there's a gold mine in there, because they're asking specific questions. You're providing specific answers. Those answers are unique to your business. Really, really powerful stuff. And it's content you've already, given life to. You just need to grab it and repurpose it now. The things you put into proposals, bids, estimates, again, a gold mine, because if you really want to win that bid, that estimate, that business, you need to really go to town, and you're putting your best foot forward. And that's probably the best way to communicate about something to prospective clients. Even service calls, the experience of a service call, record it. As long as the customer doesn't mind you doing that, and most won't, you can record a service call. And whether it's video or audio, if you're a service technician and you're going to check out somebody's furnace, you might need to, blur out the location and the person, but you can walk through the process of, checking out the state of their furnace and what you go through to ensure that it's tip-top shape. You can transcribe sales calls. I mean, this is really, really powerful. Not every sales call is going to be stellar, but you can learn from the bad ones as well, and learn to improve. And that's a form of content as well. And then the really good sales calls, you should be figuring out why it was so good and how you can redo those, right? So transcribing your calls, really powerful. And check out your customer reviews. First of all, ask them to leave reviews, but then check them out. Like, look at what people are actually saying. Of course, as you said, Paul, you need to respond to those reviews. But in those reviews, you will see whether they're good or bad. Sometimes you can even learn more from a bad review. And so, learn from that. Do updated photos. Check out how customers are inquiring about your service. Talk to business partners. So strategic business partners will give you really great feedback, and they'll tell you which of your content is most powerful. I remember in that networking group I was talking about, I had some really close friends that would give me feedback on my weekly presentations. And they would say, hey, this one really, really stood out, and this is why. And you might want to, modify it slightly, but that's a really good one. That really resonated with me. Call tracking, call recording. This is a powerful way to understand what's going on those phone calls and how you can leverage that as content. Showing your staff in action. I mean, that's, showing how you serve customers, patients, clients is really powerful. And people are curious about that kind of stuff, right? If you do behind the scenes kind of stuff, it's a lot of fun. Maybe even B-roll stuff where it's, just goof ups and that kind of stuff, depending on your business, of course. And as we mentioned earlier, showing potential clients what it would be like to do business with you is super powerful. But those are a few ideas that I think could, you should consider for sure and leverage in your business.
Yeah, and one thing, we're getting close to wrapping this up here. I don't know if you have any thoughts. Something I'd add is how-to videos. We've talked about this in the past. So let's say you're an electrician. This wouldn't necessarily be a how-to, but why you might want to consider installing a whole house surge suppressor. It's not the cheapest thing in the world, but there's some really good reasons to do that. If you have a whole house humidifier, a lot of people don't realize this, but if you have a whole house humidifier on your HVAC system, there's a filter in there that needs to be replaced. And a lot of people, if they don't have regular HVAC inspections, that filter gets clogged up. It causes all kinds of problems. That would be a how-to video, because if you're an HVAC company, you're not going to make money going out there and replacing that filter. But you can do a how-to video on how to replace it and say, oh, by the way, this is why you should pay for an annual HVAC inspection, to find these things before they start causing problems.
Yeah, so, those are great examples.
So Ian, do you have anything to add before we wrap this up?
No, I don't think so. I think we've kind of come at this topic from a couple different angles. One is user-generated content. One is looking at your, how you as a business create content. And I think the key here is just get moving on it. Like, don't over-engineer it. Make it sustainable so that you can sustainably create content over time. But you just got to start, right? Make it simple, make it easy. Don't overwhelm yourself. Take some of these suggestions and get creating content, and it will help. Not just with the experience of a prospect, the engagement on your website, but it will help you get found as well.
All right, good points. I think this is a good place to wrap up. Ian, you want to take us out?
Sure. Thanks, Paul, for being our guide today, and for sharing your thoughts on this topic. And thank you to our audience for joining us today. We value you guys. So if you have topics you want us to cover, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and share them with us. And we will look at covering those topics. And until next week, keep calm and mark it on, folks.